Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. My wife told me to wear a dress the first time I ever did it. It may be strange, but it's still true. We were invited to a costume party at our neighbor's house, and Sarah thought about it for a few days before deciding that we should each go as the opposite gender. I wasn't too excited about this idea, but Sarah convinced me that A, it was the easiest, and B, the cheapest way to solve the problem. It's funny, but none of those things turned out to be true. A few nights later, I was reading the newspaper with my face buried in it. I was just starting to understand how the rate of inflation and the value of the stock market affected my spending money when Sarah came into the living room carrying a lot of bags. I looked over my paper and she jumped out like a spider in a trap door. I have a lot of respect for spiders, so I don't feel like I'm lying here. Her face had a look of victory, and for a moment, I knew what it was like to be a rabbit caught in headlights. She told him, "There you are." I agreed, so here I am. Now is the time for your test. How come? Your test drive. You don't want to look like a complete idiot at the party in a few days. No, I don't think so. So that's that. I'll get everything ready while you go take a shower and shave. I wish I could tell you that I protested and fought for what was right, but that would be a lie. I got up slowly and went to the bathroom. After taking a shower and shaving, I came out of the steamy bathroom wearing my robe and slippers. Sarah watched me. "I thought you were supposed to shave." I rubbed my chin and said, "I did shave." She looked at my legs and asked, "What about those?" At this point, I started to wonder if my wife was crazy, so I decided to stand my ground. After 20 minutes, my legs were smooth. She led me to the bedroom and set me down at the dressing table. It was covered with bottles and tubes that smelled weird. I was about to turn into Sister Hyde, which would have made Dr. Jekyll angry. Sarah chose one of the bottles and used a sponge to put some of the colored stuff on it. "Now," she told me, "sit back, close my eyes, and take it easy." It was easier to say than to do, but I didn't have much of a choice. I shut my eyes and let my wife do her thing. After a long time, Sarah said she was happy with what she had done and told me to open my eyes. I wasn't allowed to look in the mirror. Not until you are done with everything. My face felt weird and my lips were kind of greasy. I think it was the lipstick. I stopped myself from touching my cheeks. "What's next?" She poked around in the bags and said, "Now comes the fun part. How do you feel about this?" She took one of the bags and turned it into a dress. It was a long black evening dress with short sleeves, easy and beautiful. I said, "That's nice. It would look good on you." "I don't want it, you idiot." "First, we have to get you some underwear, though. There are times in a man's life when he realizes he has walked into a minefield, for better or for worse. The question is whether or not he should go back, or should he just keep going and hope things work out. This is one of those times. I thought about my choices. I didn't like the idea of wearing these clothes, but my wife seemed to like the idea. I loved my wife, so I decided to go along with it. She gave me a girdle for my pants, to keep from going out. I got it on. It fit well, but if you want to know the truth, a little too well. Then she showed up with a bra. Sarah hooked it up behind my back after I put my arms through the straps. After a few changes, it fit pretty well. She gave me a pair of Nylosin and said, "Now, wear these." She must have thought I was confused because she grabbed another pair of nylons from her dresser, sat down on the edge of the bed, and had me copy what she did. I did what they asked, and I was able to roll them up my legs in the end. It was hard for me to believe how good they felt on my legs, almost like another layer of skin. The dress came next. I put my arms up, and Sarah carefully pulled it over my head without getting any makeup on it. She let it fall down my body and made a few changes around my chest. It's hard to explain how it feels the first time you put on a dress. I was, of course, a little bit uneasy. Years of social conditioning had left their mark, but it still felt good, much less limiting than the pants and shirts I had been wearing. Sarah took one of the bags and pulled out a pair of shoes, the color black, 2 inches high. I put them on, and even though they were a little tight, they fit pretty well. I didn't feel quite right. "When can I look?" "Soon. You only need to finish a few things and you'll be all set." She put me on the edge of the bed and made sure I straightened my dress before she did. She put a bracelet on my wrist and a string of pearls around my neck. She didn't have any clip-on earrings, so she made do without any. She got the wig from a box on top of her closet, which was the last touch. It was shoulder length and dark brown. She put it on my head and fussed with it for about 10 minutes until she was happy with how it looked. "There," she told me. "Now stand up and show yourself to me." Sarah looked at me with a critical eye and a raised eyebrow as I stood up a little funny in my heels. "Now make a U-turn." I did that, and Sarah said she was happy with the result. She took my hand and led me to the full-length mirror in the corner of the bedroom. There are times in our lives when things happen that change who we are and who we become, whether for the better or for the worse. In the end, this was one of those times. I looked at the person in the mirror, and she looked back at me. I didn't do it. Someone else did it. She had dark, wavy hair and looked beautiful in a long, simple dress for the evening. Her makeup looked great. I didn't look like that, and I couldn't. I moved my hand and lightly touched my face, and I watched the woman in the mirror do the same. I spoke in a whisper. "How come?" "Beautiful," I said again. "I look very nice." Sarah smiled and was proud of herself. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Yes, darling, you do look beautiful." Later, we cracked open a bottle of wine and settled down on the couch to watch TV. Sarah showed me how to hold and drink from a glass like a lady while I was still dressed. At this point, I was starting to worry, and it wasn't because I'd had too much wine, but they couldn't be heard because of something louder and stronger. I sipped my wine, didn't pay attention to the ringing in my ears, and tried to calm down a little bit more. After that, we both fell asleep in each other's arms. Sarah dressed me up again the next night, and this time I was more excited about it. Sarah said that I seemed more willing to help, but I told her that there was work to be done, so we might as well get to it. She gave me a strange look for a moment before continuing to put on my makeup. I wore the same bra as before, but Sarah told me to wear a plain white cotton blouse and knee-length black skirt this time. Before we can decide which look works best, we need to try out a few different ones. A lot. Sarah suggested that we go for a drive after we got dressed. I never mixed my metaphors, but this was a different kettle of fish, and I was a different color of horse. I can't go out in this outfit. So what? Because people would know. "Who will find out?" Sarah asked for. "Check out how you look in the mirror." I did. I looked back at a pretty woman. For Pete's sake, you don't even know who you are. Even your mother wouldn't know who you are. She had a point. The same was true of the woman in the mirror. A female, even if she walks a little funny in heels, she is still a woman. She said, "Look, we'll be driving. I'll be the driver. No one is going to say anything." I stood at the front door after 5 minutes. My palms were sweaty, my heart was beating fast, and a mix of fear and excitement made my stomach churn. Sarah was waiting in the car for me, so I took a deep breath, opened the front door, and stepped out. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, that can compare to that first step outside, ladies and gentlemen. Neil Armstrong never would have had a chance. The loudest sound ever heard was my heel hitting the pavement. Everyone stopped and looked. They saw me for who I really was. A fake. A man dressed as a woman. Everyone was having fun. I could hear them laughing, in fact. 2 young people were holding hands and talking and laughing as they walked down the street. I turned around to go back to the front door, but I didn't have my key with me. Sarah was in the car with the keys in her hand. I had no choice but to keep going. I would have noticed how nice the summer breeze felt on my legs if I weren't so nervous. As I got to the car, a couple walked by and said, "Hello." I was speechless. I just gave them a nod and they went on their way. I saw them pass by. No laughs. Don't look suspiciously behind you. No side conversations. They thought I was a girl. What would I be else? They saw a person with long hair, lipstick, a blouse, a skirt, and heels. I was a woman, of course. They had no reason to think that wasn't true. I quickly remembered everything Sarah had taught me. Stomach forward, straighten up. I walked forward and eased myself into the car, smoothing out my skirt before sitting down, keeping my legs together and lifting them into the car. I shut the door and gave her a smile. See, well, that wasn't so bad, was it? Sarah was now smiling. I felt like I could do anything, but all we did that night was drive around. It doesn't make sense to run before you can walk, certainly not in these shoes. Sarah was happy. It was the most beautiful sound ever. I liked hearing her laugh so much. At that moment, I would have done anything for her, and by God, I think she knew it. Sarah asked me to do something for her when we were both tired. Just about anything. I'd like you to sleep in one of my nightgowns. Now, yes. I want to wake up next to you while you're wearing silk. Things have been moving at a pretty fast clip. It would be a lie to say that the last few days haven't been fun, but it would also be a lie to say that they haven't bothered me in some way. Before all this happened, I was a normal, well-adjusted, manly man. I'd never even thought about putting on a dress. I was now wrapped around my wife and wearing one of her best nightgowns. What was this about? There was a lot of confusion. The next day was Saturday, so we slept in. When I woke up and saw that I was wearing my nightgown, it felt strange. But Sarah was smiling big. Also, it felt nice. Sarah said she wanted to go shopping in town after breakfast. I decided to stay home and get some reading done. I had trouble focusing on my book, so I kept reading the same page over and over. I finally gave up because nothing was making sense. When I went into Sarah's bedroom, I opened the top drawer of her bureau. I took out a pair of pants and wondered what it would be like to try them on. I loved how cool and smooth the silky material felt against my skin. I put my jeans on over them and went back to the living room. For some reason, I felt a lot less tense, and I was soon deep into my book. Before Sarah got home, I had finished the book and started making dinner. She was carrying a lot of stuff. My, I told you that you were busy. I'm sure I have. She made a face. This evening, why don't we go out to dinner? I had already peeled a few vegetables, so I didn't mind not having to peel anymore. Sure. Have a place in mind? She thought for a moment. Why not try Romano's? We had never been there before, but we had heard good things about it. Sure. I'll call and make a reservation. Okay with 9 o'clock? Fine. Why is it so late? We will need some time to get ready. After saying that, she went to the phone. She couldn't be thinking, I wasn't ready for something like that. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.